When reading comments, I've noticed a few times that people have recommended the SE Electronics V series of microphones. And it was mentioned again just recently by Aaron, who's a low singer, has a low voice. And he said the V7X. I had a look online, and it says that it's perhaps more designed for instruments, so it goes lower and maybe goes higher, or is flatter, doesn't have the kind of vocal shaping that people seem to like to use. I've looked online then, and I just looked at the frequency charts. I looked at the V7X first, and as I looked at it, I thought, I kind of recognise that shape. And lo and behold, I looked at the biodynamic M88, and it's very similar. What I'm going to put on screen then is at the top the V7 standard, and then in the middle is the V7X, which is the one I'm looking at, and beneath that the M88, and just have a look. I've tried to line up the frequencies as best I can. So looking then, ignoring the top one, well, let's have a look at the top one, the V7. You see there's two humps up the top there. So that's kind of the vocal thing that people, seem to feel they need to do. And then it's quite flat through the middle and starts to drop off, at about 300, well, even 5, it's starting a little. But then you've got the two proximity humps, traces, I should say, not humps. Okay. So I'd be thinking, for me, maybe a little bass light, because of it's already starting to fade away at 500, unless you bring it really close. But I don't want to do that the whole time. I want to be able to use that. Okay, let's forget that one. The 7X, which is the one that Aaron was mentioning, and you can see at the top there, it's just a broad plateau without the peaks, and doesn't go as high in dB as the peak, the upper peak anyway, on the V7. And then very flat through the middle, and the bass really only starting to reduce a little bit above 100, around about 150, no, but I don't know, 120. And there again, the two proximity traces, which are fairly significant. So it looks good. If we look at the M88, at the top there's again another broad plateau, with maybe a slight peak around 6 or something, 7. But pretty broad sweep at the top there. Fairly flat through the middle, and then the low end starting to roll off, at about 200. So maybe a little bit higher than the V7X. Down at the low end, let's look at 50. Well, about the same, what I can see. And the proximity trace is about the same. Of course, if you look, you'll see that none of them is exactly the same distance. It would be that way, wouldn't it? But never mind. So there you go. Just looking at that, thinking that it looks very similar, to my mind, to the M88. Well, I've got some mics to sell, so when I sell one of those, maybe I'll get one of those, or maybe somebody will send me one, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. They're not reasonably inexpensive, I think. So looking at that, I'm thinking, looks very similar to an M88. M88 was designed in 1962. I wonder if we've reached the end with dynamic mics, really. Is there nowhere to go, really, other than this shape and that shape, and mine does this and it does that and it does the other, just tinkering with stuff. The SE says it uses an aluminium voice coil, so I was trying to keep things light. But then, obviously, the M88, I don't know what it uses, but it's obviously light. I know the M88 uses Hostafan for the diaphragm. I don't know what the SE uses. Be interesting to hear them. In some ways, maybe I've run out of interest a little bit in hearing the next combination of features, where basically the thing's no better. We've got this peak here, and then it cuts here, and then it does that, and we've done this, and we've done that. But basically, the thing's no better than 1962. Seems very odd to me. But then I thought, well, actually, you know what? Let's say, that the M88 has got some issues for many people. Maybe too much low end, but you can cut that easily, just with a click or a turn. pops and so on could be better, but that's the case with a lot of mics, yeah. Handling noise could be better. I read somewhere that the difficulty with the handling noise is it's quite a narrow mic and there's not enough room for an adequate suspension. I don't know. So if I was looking at improving that, the M88, I'd keep it much the same, but better handling noise would be nice. Better prop rejection without sacrificing the detail would be nice. With my slight reluctance with these things, but if the SE can do much as the M88 does, which it looks similar, but does it for 1/3 the price, half to 1/5 the price, then I'd think, yeah, that's worthwhile. Then there's somewhere to go, rather than just tweaking this and tweaking that and thinking, wow, this one cuts through, this one's punchy, this one's forceful. Across thousands of mics, you don't stand a hope in hell, do you? Really, what's the point in that? It's just... But if somebody can say, yeah, let's do an updated M88, and with modern technology and modern materials, we can make it for 1/2 to 1/3 the price, then I've got some interest. It's bringing something to the party rather than smoke and mirrors. A couple of mics I wanted to look at tend to be high-end ones, because apart from this reason I've just thought of, I was going to say, why would I be interested really in yet another SM58? Well, not really. But you know what I've just said. There are some higher end ones, one with a triangular diaphragm, can't remember what it's called, and I think a heel, heil, and another. And I sent emails to the respective companies in their country, even translated it on Google Translate, I think, if they were German or whatever, basically saying, I'd like to try, I'm interested in your mic, I'd like to try it. Have you got a demonstration one that is around that I can wait for? Or am I able to hire it in the UK? Or wherever really, if it's by post, am I able to hire it for a while to try it? Because some of these mics are £800, £700, £800, I'm not going to buy it. And neither anybody else, I wouldn't have thought. Didn't have much joy with that, in fact, mostly no reply whatsoever. And then one did reply and said, oh, the UK distributor. So I emailed the UK distributor and then got no reply from them. So that wasn't too successful. Does make me wonder a bit, how do people hope to sell £500, £600, £700, £800 microphones when you don't seem to be able to try them? I wasn't asking to give them to me. I was asking to try them, either a demo one or I would hire one. If they're not around and not doing that stuff, I just don't see how they can sell very many of them, really. Anyway, that's that. See you later.